Hi, I'm Joanne from Miss Buckle Maths. You found the diagnostic maths quiz video. The idea is that the student has completed the quiz and now you can watch and check for the answers. Please highlight any topics that you need to improve as we go through, and then you know the further work that you need to do. So the first one is the multiplication of 37 times by 2,437. 7 sevens are 49. 7 times 3 is 21, plus your 4 is 25. 7 fours are 28, plus 2 is 30. 7 twos are 14, plus 3 is 17. We're now moving on to the 3 times 7, which is 21. 3 threes are 9, plus your 2 are 11. 3 fours are 12, plus 1 is 13. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. Adding them together gives you 90,169. If times tables are one of your weaknesses, they flow through all of maths. It's something that I'd really recommend working on. Contact me and I can give you the name of any apps that I'd suggest. Okay, next then we're doing 16,864 divided by 16. Now, there's two ways of doing this. You can do long division, but I don't recommend, if it's not something you've done before, that you start doing now. Or we can break it up into 16,864 divided by 4 and then divided by 4 again. Or we can go straight for how many 16s are in each of the numbers. Now, that's what I'm going to do now. But as I've said, there's other methods if your student isn't happy with that method. Now, I'd always start by writing out your 16 times table. Okay, and so we've got a quick start there on that. I'm just adding 16 each time. So how many 16s are in 16? Well, how many 16s are in 1 is 0. Carry over your 1 to make your 16. How many 16s are in 16? That's 1. How many 16s in 8? None. Carry over your 8. How many 16s in 86? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 16s are 80. So you've got 6 left over. How many 16s in 64? 1, 2, 3, 4. Final answer of 1,054. Okay, moving on, rounding is the next topic. So round 4.378 to 2 decimal places. That means we want 2 numbers after the decimal place. So to 2 decimal places, need 2 numbers after the decimal place. Now, I'd like therefore the number to end just here. So 4.37 would be our answer, but this 8 decides if we're going to round it up or keep it as 4.37. If the number after the line is 5 or more, then we're rounding the number before the line up by 1. Well, it's an 8. Therefore, it is 5 or more, so the answer is 4.38. The 7 has gone up by 1 to an 8, so it's 4.38. Round 0.004872 to 2 significant figure. A significant figure is a non-zero number. Therefore, 4 is your first significant figure. Zeros do not count. If you've got a 0 within non-zero numbers, then it does become significant. So as it stands, we have 4 significant figures. We want it to 2 significant figures. So 4 is our first and 8 is our second significant figure. The 7 decides if we're rounding the 8 up or keeping it the same. Well, 5 or more, we round up the 8 and it becomes a 9. So 0.0049 is 2 significant figures. Now this one, that's currently 5 significant figures. There's no zeros in there at the start, so nothing to count there. 1, 2, 3 means we want our number to end there. Now, the 7 tells us if the 8 is going to round up or stay the same. If it's 5 or more, we're rounding the 8 up to a 9, and it becomes 199. Now, we have to keep the place value of the 1, the 9, and the 8. So the 1 is in the 10,000s column, the 9 is in the thousands column, and the 8 is in the hundreds column, and they have to remain the same. So we need these placeholders put in the zeros after it to make sure that it remains the same. So 19,900 is our answer. Negative 7 plus minus 12, and positive and negative together make a negative. We're starting at minus 7 and we're going down by 12. We're starting at minus 7, going down by 12. Now sometimes a number line like this, a vertical number line can help. That's what I tend to use. You don't have to fill out all the numbers. I'm just going to go to -7. So we're at -7 and we're going down by 12 places. We're going down 12 places. So you're going to be at -19. -4, so we're starting at -4 and we're subtracting, so we're going down another 9. -4 subtract 9 is going to take you to -13. 6 lots of -5. Well, a negative multiplied by a positive is a negative. 6 times 5 is 30, so -30. Negative divided by a positive makes a negative. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So -4 is the answer there. Okay, expanding and simplifying. I like to use FOIL for this. So we have x plus 5 and x minus 3. I'm doing x times x and then x times -3. And then 5 times x and 5 times -3. Basically everything in the brackets need multiplying with each other. So doing it in that systematic way, x times x, x times -3, 5 times x, 5 times -3, you're not going to forget any. Well, x times x is x squared, x times -3 is -3x, 5 times x is 5x, it's a positive 5x because they're both positive, and positive 5 multiplied by -3 makes -15. Okay, joining those together then. So we have -3x and we're adding on 5x. You could look at that a different way. We could just do plus 5x minus 3x. You're going to get the same answer. 5 take away 3 is 2x. So that's that part simplified. Don't forget your x squared at the bottom and your minus 15 at the end. X squared plus 2x minus 15. When we're factorising, we're looking for two numbers that add together to make -9 and multiply together to make positive 18. AM, add, multiply. Well, two numbers that multiply together to make 18 could be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and they've got to somehow get to the 9, and it's going to be 3 and 6. Now, these two numbers are multiplying to make a positive, but we've got to get -9 in the middle. Therefore, they're both going to have to be negative. It's going to be -3 and -6 because two negatives multiply together to make the positive. And then -3 subtract 6 makes -9. We write that as x minus 3, x minus 6. Right, solving equations then. I'm going to start by writing out the equation over here. 2x subtract 4 is equal to 1. Now, solve means work out the value of the variable. We're trying to work out the value of x. We want our final solution to say x equals something. Now, it's a balanced equation, the same on each side. So whatever we're doing to one side, we have to do to the other. I need to start by getting rid of the -4. To get rid of -4, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, leaving me with 2x is equal to 5. If 2x is 5, I need to work out what 1x is by dividing it by 2. Therefore, x equals 5 over 2. That could be left as a fraction or a decimal. Okay, 5 over 2 is equal to 2.5. And you can check your answer by substituting it back in. If x is 2.5, 2x is 5. 5 take away 4 is equal to 1. Okay, the next question is a solve question, another equation with x's on both sides this time. So we're solving 5x minus 2 is equal to 3x plus 4. Once again, we want x equals, we want x on its own when we get to the end. So we need to start by putting all the x's onto one side, and then we're going to put all the numbers onto the other side before we reach our solution. So to get rid of a positive 3x, I subtract 3x from both sides. 5x subtract 3x is 2x. 2x subtract 2 is equal to 4. Those 3x's have cancelled each other out. I've taken them away. Right, we now want x on its own, remember, so I'm going to start by getting rid of -2. I get rid of it by adding 2 onto both sides because they're then going to make 0. 2x is equal to 4 plus 2, which is 6. And if 2x is 6, we need to divide it by 2 to find out what 1x is. X is equal to 3. Okay, next, changing the subject. Now I've put these together because they're very similar. If you can confidently solve an equation, you can change the subject. So we're starting with v equals u plus at. Make t the subject means by the end we want it to say have t on its own. So it doesn't matter which side t is on. I'm going to keep it on the right hand side because that's where it currently is. So we start by subtracting the u. Okay, we want t on its own. So we need to get rid of the u and the a. Now the u is the first thing we're going to get rid of. So we're going to subtract u from both sides. V subtract u is equal to at. Then I need to get rid of the a. Now that's t multiplied by a, so to get rid of it I'm going to divide by a. They then cancel each other out and leave your answer as a fraction. V minus u over a is equal to t. Finding 15% of 260. So I break this up. I'm going to find 10% to start with, 5%, and that will enable me to add those two together to find 15% in total. To find 10% we divide by 10, so 260 divided by 10 is 26. The reason we're dividing by 10 is because there are 10% in the 100%. 5% is half of 10%, so that's going to be equal to 13. So in total, 15% is going to be 26 plus 13, which is going to be 39. So 15% of 260 is 39. A price is increased by 12% from £50. What's the new price? So for these you have to start by finding that 12%, then add it on to the £50. So start by finding 12% of 50. Now to do that I would first find out what 10% is. I would then find 1% and then double it to find out what 2% is, so 2 lots of 1%, and then I'm going to add them together to get to my 12%. To find 10% I divide it by 10, 50 divided by 10 is equal to 5. So to find 1% I'm dividing it by 100, so that would be 0.5, and I need 2 lots of that 0.5, which is 1. So the numbers I'm adding together are 5 and 1, and 5 and 1 make 6. So in total then we're increasing £50 by 6. 50 plus the 6 make 56 altogether. Okay, put these in ascending order. You need to know that ascending means from smallest to largest, okay? So smallest to largest. So the key to these questions is making sure that they're in the same format. I tend to go for percentages. So to change a decimal to a percentage, you times it by 100, it's going to be 38%. 3/5 is a percentage. Well, we want a fraction that's over 100. I'm going to start by changing it to 6/10 because then hopefully you can see that that would be the same as 60 over 100. And 60 over 100 becomes 60%. I'm going to highlight the answers we're using. 42% is already a percentage, and 0.4 needs multiplying by 100 to get to 40%. So we write it in ascending order. My smallest is 38%, but I can't write 38%. I've got to write the original value that was given, which was 0.38. Then it's going to be 0.4, 40%, 42%, followed by my 60%. But once again, we don't write the 60%. We have to write it as 3/5. Okay, when you're multiplying mixed numbers, you first have to convert them into improper fractions. 2 1/3. Well, that's 3/3 twice plus your 1/3 makes 7/3. And 1 3/4. That would be 4/4 plus 3/4 makes 7/4. Okay, so we're doing 7/3 multiplied by 7/4. 7 times 7 is 49. 3 times 4 is 12. And convert it back to a mixed number. So how many 12s go into 49? 12, 24, 36, 48. So 4 12s are 48 with 1 12 left over. Decimal calculations are all about making sure that you're lining up the decimals with each other. So 3.4 added to 2.765. Okay, fill in the gaps with zeros if you'd like to. 0 plus 5 is 5. 0 plus 6 is 6. 7 plus 4 gives me 11. 3 plus 2 plus 1 makes 6, so we end up with 6.175. 6.5 multiplied by 0.04. When we're doing decimal calculations, ignore the decimal points initially. We're going to do 65 multiplied by 4. Okay, 65 multiplied by 4, I'm doubling 65 and doubling it again, makes 260. Now, that has been times by 10 to get to 65, and that's been times by 100. So the overall effect there is it's 1,000 times bigger. This answer is 1,000 times bigger. So to get back to our answer, we need to go 1,000 times smaller. So if we're starting with 260, 26 would be 10 times smaller, 2.6 would be 100 times smaller, and 0.26 would be 1,000 times smaller. So 0.26. Okay, 8.4 divided by 0.2. 8.4 divided by 0.2. When we're dividing decimals, I get students to write it as a fraction, and so they can see that 84 over 2 is exactly the same as 8.4 divided by 0.2, because I've just multiplied the numerator and the denominator by 10. And the 84 divided by 2 is the same as 42, okay? And that's your answer, 42. They've been kept in the same ratio each time. They're exactly the same as each other. We don't have to change any answers. Right, prime factors, highest common factor and lowest common multiple. A, right, 84 is a product of its prime factors. We start with the number 84, and we're breaking up 84 into numbers that multiply together to make it, until we get to the prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. 84 is the same as 2 multiplied by 42. We've hit a prime number there. That branch doesn't go any further. 42 is 2 multiplied by 21, and 21 is 3 multiplied by 7. So the prime factor decomposition of 84 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 7, which is the same as 2 squared times 3 times 7. They're the products of its prime factors. If you multiplied those together, you would get back to 84. So doing the same to B, we're starting at 60 and we're breaking it up. So 2 multiplied by 30, 3 multiplied by 10, and 2 multiplied by 5. You could take many routes for this, but you'll still get to the same answer at the bottom. You can't choose 2 wrong numbers to multiply together. So final answer, 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is 2 squared times 3 times 5. Now the best thing about prime factor decomposition is we can use it to find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. So to do this requires putting our factors into a Venn diagram. So a Venn diagram is 2 overlapping circles. Well, overlapping in this case because there is an overlap. We're writing 84, we're writing 60, and we're putting the prime factors into this diagram. So they both have 2 squared in common. So everything they've got in common goes in the middle. So they've both got 2 and a 2, 2 squared, and they've also got a 3. So 2, 3, and 2 are in the overlap. They're factors of both 84 and 60. Then we have the extra 7 on 84. That goes there because it's not a prime factor of 60, but 5 goes there, okay, because that's a prime factor of 60, but not 84. Now, the highest common factor is the multiplication of the ones they share in common. So highest common factor is equal to 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12. And then the lowest common multiple is a multiplication of all of the factors in there. So lowest common multiple is equal to 7 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 5. Okay. Now I break these up to try and make it a bit easier. 7 2s are 14. So I would do it as 7 times 2 is 14. That makes 10. And then times 3 afterwards. That 3 there. 14 times 10 is 140. 140 times 3 is 420. And that is our lowest common multiple. Okay, when we're doing index laws, we're adding those powers. A cubed times a to the power 5 makes a to the power 8. We're dividing here, we subtract the powers, makes b to the power 5. And here, 2x to the power 4 squared. The most common answer people write here is 2x to the power of 8, but we have to remember that the 2 is also being squared. So we have 4x to the 8. Y equals mx plus c. M stands for the gradient, the steepness of the line, and c is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the easiest to fill out first. That value there is -5. Therefore, the c value in y equals mx plus c, the y-intercept there, is going to be -4. The m is the gradient. Now, that is for every one it goes across, how much it goes up or down. So it's going across 1, up 3. So my gradient is 3. So y equals 3x minus 4. Okay, so we said when it's in the form y equals mx plus c, the coefficient of x, the number in front of x, is the gradient, and the y-intercept is the number at the end. So if I go along and highlight my gradients, -2 is a gradient, half is a gradient, and the -4, it doesn't have to be in the order of mx first, of the gradient first, it's just the coefficient of the x. So -2, a half, and -4 are your gradients. And your y-intercepts are +7, -3, and +5. So for this one, you need a scientific calculator. Now, see the equation as a set of instructions. The y value is equal to the x value squared, subtract 2 times the x value, subtract 3. And we have to work out what the y values are when we substitute in these different values of x. So we're going to start with substituting in x is 4 into the equation y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. So what happens if we put in the value of 4? So we're going to be doing 4 squared minus 2 lots of 4 minus 3. And you'll see that I've put in brackets, and if you literally replace the x value with the value here, right, and put it in brackets, then you're going to be able to get to your answer on a calculator straight away, okay? So, bracket 4 squared, subtract 2 lots of 4, subtract 3. So x squared minus 2 times x minus 3. And you just go through doing it for your different values of x. So the first one there, y is 5 when x is equal to 4. Now, from that I've got a set of coordinates. The coordinates are when x is 4, y is 5. So I can go along when x is 4, y is equal to 5. And the next one we're going to do the same for 3. Now, the beauty of having it in brackets as well is that you can just quickly replace the brackets, number in the brackets with the new number that you'd like. Okay, so when x is 3, y is 0, the coordinate is 3, 0. The same when x is 2, negative 3. So we're going to be plotting 2, x is 2, y is negative 3, when x is 1, okay, so I'm just going to quickly go along doing exactly the same for the other values. Okay, once you've reached this stage, it's really important you then draw a nice smooth curve around these points, okay? This is sometimes hard to do on a computer screen, but you can just imagine a nice smooth curve joining all those points together, okay? Now, tip here from GCSE marking of graphs, if you are more than half a square out, then we can't give you the mark for it. Therefore, students that do dots are going to be much less accurate than people that do crosses, because we take the middle point exactly, okay? So my top tip is to use crosses. Also, when you're drawing your line, don't feather it. Don't go up and down lots of times to make lots of different lines. It has to be one straight line. It's really hard on a graphics tablet to do this, so apologies. So one straight line that kind of joins them all, okay, with a continuous straight line. Do it in pencil, so you can rub out if you make any errors, okay? Mine's not quite smooth, but there we go, okay? Right, moving on then. So the nth term of a sequence, we work out what the sequence is going up by each time. It's going up by 5. That makes it 5n. It's very similar to the 5 times table. It's 5n. The 5 times table starts 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. How do I get from 5 times table to my sequence? I'm having to subtract 1 each time. Therefore, it's 5n, take away 1. The inequality, y is greater than or equal to 2, but less than 7, not including 7, is represented like this. Making sure that you colour in the 2, but leave an open circle for the 7. It includes the 2, doesn't include the 7. Area is the space inside the shape. When you've got a compound shape, split the shape up into 2 shapes you can calculate the area of, and label them 1 and 2. So the area of shape 1 is going to be 4 multiplied by 3. The base is 4, the height is 3. 4 times 3 is equal to 12 centimetres squared. And then shape 2, it's got a base of 10. Now we need to work out this height. All the way up is 7, and that part's 3. 7 take away 3 makes 4. So it's going to be 10 multiplied by 4, which is 40 centimetres squared. Add the 2 together, we get to 52 centimetres squared. Now when it comes to the perimeter, we need to add together all the sides. So we have 4 centimetres, add 3 centimetres, add 7 centimetres, add 10 centimetres, add another 4. We need to fill in this one here. It's going to be 6 centimetres, because 6 plus the 4 make the 10, and then the 3 there. Let's just write that 4 centimetre there. Okay, so in total we should have 34 centimetres. Now write down the working out you've done there. So we've done 4 plus 7 plus 10 plus 4 plus 6 plus 3. Label the parts of the circle. We have the tangent is the line, that line there that meets the circle, and 90-degree angle to the radius, this being the radius. Then we have the diameter. And then you've got the circumference that goes all the way around the outside. If a circle has a radius of 3.5 meters, what is the area? Now, for the area, we need to do pi multiplied by radius squared. And that would be pi multiplied by 3.5 squared. Now, this could be a non-calculator or a calculator question. If it's non-calculator, then you need to do 3.5 squared and leave it in terms of pi. So 3.5 squared, to do that I would be doing 35 multiplied by 35 and replacing my decimal point afterwards. Now it's 12.25 because we've multiplied by 10 twice, so we need to divide the answer by 100. Okay, finally then the last couple of pages. Surface area is the space on the outside. So what is this shape made out of? We have, let's just think about this. If I separate this shape up a little bit more. Right, we have a triangle at the front and the back. We have a rectangle on the left and right, and we have a base, and we need to calculate the area of those individually. So the triangle at the front here is base times height divided by 2. I'm going to label that 1. So 1 is base times height divided by 2 is the area of a triangle, which is 3 times 4 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And we have 2 of those, so we need to do 6 multiplied by 2 to get 12 centimeters squared. Now that gives you the answer for the triangle at the front and the triangle at the back. Right, let's do number 2 now, which is going to be the base. And the base has a height of 8 and a width of 4. It's a rectangle, so we're doing 8 multiplied by 4, which is 32. The next part we need 32 centimeters squared. And then finally we've got these 2 slanted sides. Now we haven't been given the height of those, so that's something that you'd have to calculate using Pythagoras. Okay, think about this. So for the area of this rectangle, we need the height as well as the base, and it's that height that we need to calculate. So I'm just going to draw this triangle out here. Let's look at this in a bit more detail. So we have a base of 4, we have a height of 3, and this is the side that we're trying to work out. I'm going to call it x, okay? Let's put that height of 3 within the triangle. Now, if I split that triangle up, can you see I've just created myself a right angle triangle? That base there is 2, it's half of the 4. The height is 3, so we can use Pythagoras to work out what that hypotenuse is going to be. We're doing 2 squared plus 3 squared, and then square root our answer. Now, 2 squared is going to be 4. 4 plus 9 square rooted is the same as square root of 13. Okay, so square root of 13 for that one. So if that is square root of 13, so for number 3 then, let's call number 3 these ones on the side here. We need to do 8 multiplied by square root of 13. Which is 8 root 13, double it because we've got 1 on the other side as well, and that's 57.7. Okay, then it's just a case of adding them all together. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that one as well for us. So we need to add together 12 plus 32 plus 57.7. giving me a total surface area of 101.7 centimetres squared. Right, for the volume, I'm just going to rub out anything I've done on there. For a volume of a prism, it's always the area of the cross section, so the area of this triangle times by the length. The area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2, and we then need to times it by the length, 8. 4 times 3 divided by 2 is 12 divided by 2, which is 6. 6 times by 8 is equal to 48 centimetres cubed, because it's a volume, 48 centimetres cubed. Right, a Pythagoras question then. This time we're trying to find a shorter side. So we're doing 12 squared, subtract 8 squared, square rooted. If you're finding the hypotenuse, we square them and add them together. If we're finding a shorter side, we square them and subtract them from each other. So it's the square root of 12 squared, subtract 8 squared, and that gives us 8.9 centimetres. The test scores of 2 classes are summarised, the mean, range, mean and the range. Which class did better on average? Okay, right, what this question's checking is that, are you aware that the average is the mean? There are 2 other averages, the median and mode. Okay, so you could have one of those as an average, and that tells us who did best overall. Now, when it comes to consistency, the range measures consistency, how close the data is together. If something's consistent, it happens the same, it often happens the same. So consistent data has a low range, and consistent data is good. So which class did better on average? It's the one with the highest mean, the one with the highest mean score. So class B did better on average. As they had the highest mean score. Which class was more consistent? Class B was also more consistent because they had the lowest range. So when you're comparing data, you must mention an average, the mean, median or mode, and the range for the measure of consistency. Biggest error there is students thinking that the range is an average, which it isn't. Okay, this one here. So we have 2 sides and an angle in a right angled triangle. Now this is a trigonometry question where we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. Your first step of SOHCAHTOA is to label up the sides. So the side opposite the right angle is always the longest side. It's called the hypotenuse. The side opposite the given angle is called the opposite. And the remaining side is the adjacent. Now, we always highlight the 2 sides that the question involves. It's always only going to involve 2 sides. Either you're given 2 sides if you're trying to find an angle, or you know one side, you're trying to figure out the other. So this one involves the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Which trigonometric ratio involves the adjacent and the on the opposite? So this one involves the opposite and the hypotenuse. It's no good. This one involves the adjacent and the hypotenuse. No good. But tan involves the opposite and the adjacent, and that's the one we're going to use, TOA. So redraw out your triangle. And I think it's always good for a quick reminder here to know that we're multiplying them if they're next to each other, and we're dividing them when they're on top of each other. Okay, cover over what you're trying to find. We're trying to find the opposite. I would usually use my finger. Just place your finger over the opposite, and it tells you what you have to do when they're next to each other. So to work out my opposite, I have to do the tan of the angle, tan of 32, and I'm multiplying it by the adjacent. The adjacent is 8. So into your calculator, we're doing tan. It opens the bracket for you. You need to make sure you're closing it. Just the angle is being applied the tan to. So tan of 32 multiplied by 8 gives us 4.99. So if I was going to do that to one decimal place, I would write 5.0, okay, to one decimal place. Now, it's always good practice to write down the calculator display, or at least start to. A few dots indicate that it continues, and then it's 5.0 centimetres to one decimal place. Okay, finally then, standard form. A number in standard form is greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10. And we multiply it by 10 to a power. So 350 in standard form. 350 is going to have to be 3.5. That's the only way I can make a number between 1 and 10. So it's 3.5. And what have I got to multiply it by? What power of 10 to get it back to the original number, to get it back to 350? Well, if I've got 3.5 to make the number between 1 and 10, then I've got to times it by 10 twice. So times 10 once would give it there, times 10 twice would take you back to 350, hence 3.5 times 10 squared. Okay, 4.7 times 10 to the negative 3 is an ordinary number. Well, multiplying by 10 to the negative 1, which is equal to a tenth, is the same as dividing it by 10. So we're starting with the number 4.7, going to do the rough work down here, and we're dividing it by 10 3 times. So one place is going to produce it there, so 0.47, twice is going to take it there, and 3 times my decimal point is now there. So my answer is 0.0047. Really careful with your numbers, making sure that the zeros are zeros. That could have been a 6 there. Okay, and with this one we are splitting it up, so we do 3 times 5. And then we're also doing 10 to the 4 times 10 to the power 6. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times by 10 to the power of 10. Now that is not in standard form. We need to divide that number by 10 to get it between 1 and 10, greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10. So therefore we're multiplying that side by 10 to compensate for that extra division. So 1.5 times 10 to the power 11. Okay, sharing into a ratio, £420 is shared between Adam and Beth in the ratio 5 to 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2. And we're sharing £420. So £420 has to be split equally into those 7 boxes. So we need to do 420 divided by 7, which makes £60. So each of these circles represents £60. So there's Adam and Beth. So let's calculate how much they've got. Adam got £60 5 times. So he has got 60 multiplied by 5, which is £300. And Beth has £60 twice, which is going to give me £120. So how much do they both get? £300 and £120. Okay, simultaneous equations. Solve the simultaneous equation. So I use the stop method for this. Same sign, take away, opposite sign, plus. And this helps us, once we've lined up the coefficient that we're going to eliminate, and it's the 3's here, look, the 3y and the 3y, you're basically trying to get the same number in front of one of the variables, which in this case is the y's. We then look at the signs. If the signs are opposite, we're adding them. Opposite means plus. So we're going to add these two equations together. So 26 add -1 is 25. 3y add -3y, they cancel each other out, and 4x plus x is 5x. If you'd got the wrong sign here, if you'd, for example, put in a negative, then 3y subtract negative 3y would have made 6y and it wouldn't have been eliminated, okay? Hence making sure that you get the right sign there. So we've got to 5x being 25, therefore x is going to be 5 by dividing 3 by 5 on both sides. And once you've worked out the value of one of the variables, the x in this case, we can then work out the value of the y. Well, if x is 5, 4 times 5 is 20, 20 plus 3y is 26. Subtract your 20 from both sides, 3y is going to be 6. Divide it by 3, y is going to be 2. So we have y is 2 and x is equal to 5. Don't forget, for any topics where you've needed further help, I'll then go away onto a programme such as Maths Genie or Corbett Maths to look into those further. Or obviously, these are topics that I work through during my tutoring programme in a much slower pace, so feel free to contact me if you need help with any of these sections also. I hope that's been helpful.